Chapter 1. The color of news the morning broke dull, but Edwin Hale arrived darker still, dressed in full mourning black. No one had yet spoken of death, no telegrams, no whispers in the street. Yet he walked into the office like a man who had already buried someone. An hour later, his partner, Victor Dane, was found dead in his study. On Riddle Street, grief is rarely early. It is usually prepared. It was 10:15 on a Monday morning when Edwin Hale came to the old brownstone on West 35th Street, wearing black from collar to shoes. Since there had been no funeral announced, no death printed in the morning papers, and no undertaker following him up the steps, I gave him credit for either excellent dramatic instinct or poor nerves. I opened the door. He was tall, narrow, and grey at the temples, with a face that had been trained to keep secrets, and had lately lost confidence in the lesson. His coat was black, his tie was black, his gloves were black. Even his umbrella looked as if it had resigned from weather and joined mourning. "I am Edwin Hale," he said. "I must see Nero Wolfe." "Must is a big word before lunch," I told him. "What's the occasion?" "Death." "Whose?" He swallowed. "Victor Dane's. If we are not already too late." That promoted him from nuisance to possibility. I took his hat and coat and led him to the office. Wolfe was behind his desk, vast, yellow, shirted, and unwilling to approve the day. He had finished breakfast, but had not yet gone up to the plant rooms, which meant the caller had arrived at the only hour when murder has a chance of competing with orchids. "Mr. Edwin Hale," I said. "He brings death, but no corpse yet." Wolfe opened his eyes. "Sit." Hale sat in the red leather chair as if it were a witness stand. Wolfe said, "Speak." "My partner, Victor Dane, will be killed before noon." Wolfe's lips tightened. "By whom?" "I don't know." "Then how do you know?" Hale removed a white envelope from his inside pocket and placed it on Wolfe's desk. "Because I was told." I picked it up with a paper knife and opened it. The message had been made from words clipped from newspapers and pasted neatly on plain paper. "Wear black if you want to be believed. Victor Dane will be dead before noon. The color of news is mourning." I handed it to Wolfe. He read it once, then again. "Why did you obey?" he asked. Hale looked down at his sleeves. "Because the writer knew our phrase." "What phrase?" "The color of news." "Explain." Hale drew a breath. "Victor Dane and I own the Chronicle Syndicate. It is a news service officially. Unofficially, it gathers information. Political, financial, personal, sometimes we publish. Often we do not." "Blackmail," I said. He looked at me. "Protection. Same animal, better collar," Wolfe said. "Continue." Dane classified files by color: yellow for gossip, green for money, blue for politics, red for scandal, black for death, not literal death, but ruin. A black file could destroy a man. And Mr. Dane intended to publish. Yes, he had undergone a fit of conscience, or vanity disguised as conscience. He took several files to his house on Riddle Street. At noon today he intended to send selected material to 3 newspapers. Material injurious to you. To me, to him, to many others. "Did you quarrel?" "Yes, yesterday, violently." "Did you threaten him?" Hale's jaw worked. "I said I would stop him." "That was foolish." "It was honest." "Honesty is often foolish when shouted." I asked, "Why come here instead of the police?" "Because if I went to the police dressed like this before Victor died, I would be treated as either mad or guilty. If I ignored the note and he died, I would be treated as both." "That's neat." "It is intolerable." Wolfe leaned back. "Where is Mr. Dane?" "At his house. 41 Riddle Street." Riddle Street again. I had already had more of that street than any honest man required. It is one of those old New York stretches where money sits behind ironwork and calls itself privacy. Wolfe said, "Archie, telephone." Hale gave me the number. I dialed. A butler answered, cautious and polished. "Victor Dane, please. Archie Goodwin calling for Nero Wolfe." Mr. Dane is not receiving calls. Tell him Edwin Hale is in mourning black in Nero Wolfe's office and wants him alive until noon. A silence. Then the butler said, "One moment." Another voice came on, a woman's cool enough to frost glass. "This is Laura Dane. What is this absurdity?" "Good morning. Is your husband alive?" "How dare you?" "Easily, is he?" "Is in his study." "I leave in his study." "He was alive 20 minutes ago." "Check." "I will not be ordered by a stranger." "Madam, strangers often give the best advice, because they haven't yet learned your preferences." She hung up, I reported. Wolfe's eyes closed. "Archie, go. Riddle Street." "Yes." "To stop a murder, if possible. To observe one, if not." Hale rose. "I'm coming." "No," Wolfe said. Hale stared. "No, you will remain here, my partner. Your partner is either alive or dead. Your presence cannot improve. Either condition, sit." Hale sat. He did not like it, but Wolfe's voice can place a man in a chair as efficiently as gravity. I left with the pasted note in my pocket and Wolfe's final instruction in my ear. Notice colors. The taxi took 25 minutes and 2 insults from me to reach Riddle Street. The Dane house stood behind a low iron fence, brown brick with black shutters and a polished black door. It had money but not restraint. Through the front windows I saw red curtains, brass lamps, and blue porcelain large enough to drown a cat. Rowan Pike was on the steps. Pike was lean, quiet, and useful. 3 qualities not often found in one detective. We had worked across each other before, and I had learned that when Pike looked at nothing, nothing was usually the point. "You're early," I said. "So is death." Dane, in the study, found 11:16. I checked my watch. The note promised before noon. It kept its word. That's never good. He led me inside. The hall was crowded with objects that had cost money, but not thought. Red lacquer cabinet, green marble stand, yellow silk lampshade, blue glass vases. Wolfe had told me to notice colors. Victor Dane had made that easy and nearly painful. Laura Dane stood near the staircase. She was 40, blonde, poised, and dressed in dark blue instead of black. If grief had called on her, she had made it wait downstairs. "You are the man who telephoned," she said. "And you are the woman who hung up. My husband is dead. My condolences. They are unnecessary. Then we agree on something." Pike took me to the study at the rear. Victor Dane lay on the carpet beside his desk, broad-shouldered, handsome, and permanently surprised. His right hand was curled near his chest. His mouth was slightly open. There was no blood, no wound visible, no overturned furniture. On the desk stood a tumbler with amber liquid, a whiskey bottle, and a white card printed with one word in black. Color. Behind the card were folders tied with ribbons. Yellow, green, blue, red, and black. The black folder lay open, I said. Subtle fellow. Dane, the killer. Pike nodded toward the body. Medical examiner is cautious. Possibly poison. Whiskey, being tested. Windows, locked. Garden door, bolted from inside. Visitors. Secretary Miriam Cross, 10:30 to 11. Business associate Oscar Bell, 10:40 to 10:50. Wife claims she saw Dane alive at 10:50. 5 Butler Phelps brought coffee at 11. 10 received no answer. Entered 6 minutes later. Coffee, untouched. Whiskey, partly drunk. I looked at the open folder. The label read, Hale per Dalton Nefe Chronicle, private settlements, that explains our mourning client. Pike said, "Does it?" Not enough. Miriam Cross was brought in next. She was Dane's secretary, dark-haired, precise, and frightened in a controlled way. She looked at the black folder and then quickly away. "What's missing?" I asked. Her eyes returned to me. Nothing. That was too fast. "Try again," Pike said. "Miss Cross." She folded her hands. There was a grey envelope inside the black file. Mr. Dane called it, the death sheet, cheerful office. It contained names and payments. I never read it fully. Who could remove it? Mr. Dane, Mrs. Dane, Mr. Hale, Mr. Bell, myself. Was Hale expected here? Yes, at 11:30. He was with Wolfe then. I know. Who else knew he was expected? Mr. Bell, Mrs. Dane. Possibly anyone in the office. What was Dane going to publish? The first article was about the Chronicle Syndicate itself. He said exposure was the only way to cleanse it. Men who say cleanse usually mean burn, I said. She did not disagree. Oscar Bell arrived under protest. He was short, sharp, and dressed in expensive grey. He had financial interest in the syndicate, and the manner of a man who would sell both his shoes if the price moved upward. Dane was alive when I left, he said, before anyone asked. Nice of you to choose our first question, I said. Try our second. What was in the grey envelope? I don't know. You knew enough to be angry. Dane was threatening many people, including you. Possibly. Did you send Hale the morning note? Numbered, did you send Laura Dane a note? His eyes flickered. What note? That answered half of it. Pike had another envelope, found in Laura Dane's writing desk after she denied receiving anything. Like Hale's, it was pasted from newspaper type. Keep the red file closed. Black will open itself. Bell read it and went pale under the grey. Red file? Pike asked. Bell said nothing. Laura Dane entered then, having decided absence had become unattractive. Pike showed her the note. I never saw it, she said. It was in your desk, Pike replied. My husband's papers were often placed there. By whom? Servants, secretaries, Victor himself. Or you, I said. She gave me a look that would have frozen soup. By noon, Inspector Kramer had arrived, bringing bulk, authority, and irritation. He read Hale's note, Laura's note, and the card from the desk. He chewed his cigar and said, Where's Wolfe? At home, keeping civilization warm. And Hale, with Wolfe. Convenient, very, especially since Dane died while Hale was there. Kramer glared. Don't be cute, I'm helpless. By 1:30 Hale was brought to Dane's house and questioned in the library. He looked at the colored rooms with distaste, as if morning had met bad decoration. He admitted Dane expected him at 11:30. He admitted the black file could ruin both of them. He denied sending the note, killing Dane, or knowing the grey envelope had been removed. Who knew the phrase color of news? Pike asked. Hale looked tired. Everyone close to us, Dane Laura, Miriam Cross, Bell, perhaps others from the old office. And enemies. Any man we ever frightened. That's a large mailing list, I said. Yes, Hale said. We were successful. By 4, I returned to Wolfe with a notebook full of colors. Hale had been released back into Wolfe's custody, a phrase Kramer disliked enough to repeat twice. Wolfe received the report in the office. Eyes closed, fingers touching. I gave him everything. Dane dead before noon. Possible poison, black file, open, grey envelope, missing, Colorado law card, Laura's hidden note, Miriam's fear, Bell's flicker, Hale's phrase. When I finished, Wolfe said, the notes are not warnings. No, they are stage directions. That was good. I wrote it down. Hale is told to wear black, Wolfe continued. Laura Dane is told the red file must remain closed. Dane dies with the black file open and a card naming color. Someone is arranging how the death will be interpreted. By whom? By us, by the police, by the newspapers. The Chronicle Syndicate made news by suppressing it. Yes, now someone is making murder by arranging news. I leaned back. So Hale's black morning was not to warn him, it was to make him visible. Yes, and Laura's red file note, to make her hide something or appear to have hidden it. The grey envelope, central, poison, likely, who? Wolf opened his eyes. The person who knew the colors, the appointments, the files, and the emotional habits of the participants. Miriam Cross. Possibly. Laura Dane. Possibly. Oscar Bell. Possible. Hale. Possible, though less convenient than Inspector Kramer would prefer. Hale, still in the red leather chair, stirred. "Mr. Wolf, I came to you." "Yes," Wolf said, "that is evidence, not absolution." The doorbell rang. I admitted Pike. He had rain on his hat and a slip of paper in his hand. "Lab preliminary," he said. "Dane's whiskey contains chloral hydrate. Enough to make him groggy, perhaps collapse, but not enough to kill." Wolf's eyes opened. "Then poison is not complete. There's also a puncture behind the left ear, tiny missed at first. Injection, likely." I looked at Hale. His black gloves were in his lap. Wolf said softly, "The color of news is morning." Pike said, "And the method?" Wolf leaned back. "Still hidden. But the murderer is not content with death. He wants a headline." Outside, the dull day had darkened into evening. Inside Wolf's office, the colors had begun to arrange themselves: black for morning, red for scandal, gray for the missing packet, white for the card, and somewhere among them, the shade of murder. On Riddle Street, grief had arrived early. Now we had to learn who dressed it. Chapter 3. The Black File. The black coat had been found where it should not be, folded in Oscar Bell's motorcar, like a body waiting for discovery. Edwin Hale denied losing it. Victor Dane had kept it hidden, and Miriam Cross remembered seeing it before the murder. The file on Dane's desk was black too, opened wide, emptied of one grey packet. A coat, a file, a note, a word on a card, all black, all arranged. On Riddle Street, color was not decoration, it was instruction. By the next morning, the case had begun to behave like a newspaper headline written by a drunk editor. Every fact shouted, but none of them agreed on what the story was. At breakfast, Wolf refused to discuss it. That was not unusual. He considers breakfast a private treaty between a man and his digestion, and murder is not a signatory. He ate ham, eggs, toast, and peach jam, while I read aloud from the morning papers, which had already managed to turn Victor Dane's death into a public performance. The Gazette called it "Blackmail King Found Dead." The Courier chose mourning partner held in Dane mystery, though Hale was not held. The Herald, showing rare enterprise and poor manners, printed "The color of news is morning," which meant someone had leaked the pasted note. Wolf set down his fork. Who leaked it? Could be police, could be Dane's staff, could be the murderer, if he wants applause. Confound it. That's my professional assessment too. He finished breakfast in silence. At 11, after his 2 sacred hours with orchids, he came down to the office. I had arranged the facts on separate sheets: black coat, black file, grey packet, red note, Colorado, law card, Hale's alibi, Dane's whiskey, Nebraska Edelmark. Wolf sat, glanced at the sheets, and shut his eyes. "Remove the capital letters," he said. "They help me think. They help you dramatize. Thinking is quieter." I left them. The phone rang. It was Rowan Pike. "Goodwin." "Pike, we opened the Chronicle office safe. And the grey packet is gone from there too. That's efficient. The office copy, the house copy, and the colorless copy are all missing. Then either Dane lied about copies or someone collected them. Somebody collected them. How do you know? Because the safe wasn't forced. Miriam Cross had the combination, so did Dane. Hale once did, but says it was changed. Bell claims he never knew it. Laura Dane had a written copy in her husband's desk. That's a crowd. There's more. In Dane's office we found newspaper clippings, paste, and paper matching the notes sent to Hale and Laura Dane. I looked at Wolf, his eyes opened. "Dane made the notes?" I asked. "Possibly. Before dying. That's how chronology usually works. Why send Hale a note predicting his own death? Not his own Dane's, you know what I mean," Pike said. "There's also a black thread caught on the screen behind Dane's office chair, same kind as Hale's morning coat." "The coat Miriam saw?" "Yes. I covered the mouthpiece. Dane's office has materials matching the pasted notes. Safe copies gone. Black thread from Hale's coat behind Dane's office screen. Wolf extended his hand for the receiver. I gave it. Mr. Pike, did Mr. Dane compose the notes, or did someone compose them in his office? A pause while Pike answered. Wolf grunted. Who had access yesterday after office hours? Another pause. Bring Miss Cross here at once. Also Mr. Bell. No, not together. Mr. Goodwin will expect them. He hung up. I said, you're receiving callers before lunch. Lunch is at 1:15. It is now 11:06. Time enough for 2 lies, perhaps 3. Miriam Cross arrived first. At 11:40, she wore a dark grey suit and a hat with no nonsense in it. Her face was pale but steady. She had the look of a woman who had spent years typing other people's secrets and had learned not to react until alone. I brought her in. Wolf indicated the red leather chair. Miss Cross, you were Victor Dane's secretary. Yes. For how long? 9 years. You knew his color system. Yes. You handled his files. Yes. You knew the safe combination. Yes. Did you remove the grey packet? Number, did you compose the pasted notes? Number, did Mr. Dane? She hesitated. Wolf's eyes narrowed. That hesitation is expensive. Spend it. Mr. Dane sometimes made pasted notes. For amusement? For tests? Of whom? His staff, his wife, his partners. He liked to see who followed instructions. Did he prepare the note sent to Mr. Hale? I don't know. Could he have? Yes. Did he prepare the note sent to Mrs. Dane? I don't know. Could he have? Yes. Wolf leaned back. Did he tell you yesterday that he intended to stage anything? Numbered, did he mention the black coat? Her fingers tightened in her lap. Yes. Tell us. She swallowed. Mr. Dane had Mr. Hale's old mourning coat. He said, Hale would never miss what he wore only for funerals. How did Dane get it? I don't know. Defooey. She flushed. He had means. He had people. That is not an answer. Continue. He hung it behind the screen in his office and laughed about it. He said black was the only color Hale understood. When? Yesterday afternoon. Was Mr. Bell present? Yes. Did Mr. Bell touch the coat? I saw him move it aside. Did Mr. Dane say why he wanted it? Number, did you hear Dane mention a note telling Hale to wear black? Number, did you send it? Number, her voice did not rise. That counted in her favor. A liar often climbs stairs, Wolf said. What was in the grey packet? I told Mr. Goodwin. Names, payments, settlements. Not enough. What specific matter made it fatal? She looked down. The Calver Merrow affair. Who is Calver Merrow? A publisher. He owned 3 small papers in Ohio and Pennsylvania. The syndicate forced him to sell after obtaining letters between his wife and a senator. Later those letters were proved forged. By whom? Mr. Dane, I think. Who suffered? Merrow killed himself. His wife went mad. The senator survived, as they do. I wrote that down. Wolf said. Who profited? Chronicle Syndicate, Mr. Hale. Mr. Dane. Mr. Bell arranged some of the purchase. Mrs. Dane received shares. And the grey packet proved forgery. Yes. Who knew that? She whispered. All of us. Wolf opened his eyes fully. All? Mr. Dane, Mr. Hale, Mr. Bell, Mrs. Dane and I, anyone else. I don't know. Did Mr. Dane intend to publish the Merrow material? Yes, first. Why? He said it was the cleanest proof of dirt. That sounds like Dane. It does. Did you wish it published? She looked at Wolf, then at me. Yes. Why? Because I typed the forged letters. The office got still. I stopped writing for half a second, then resumed. Wolf said, At whose instruction? Mr. Dane's? When, 12 years ago? Did you know they were forged? Not at first, later. And you remained employed? Yes. Why? She gave a small, bitter smile. Because knowledge is not wages, Mr. Wolf. It does not pay rent unless sold. Did you sell it? Number, did Dane's proposed publication threaten you? Yes. Then why wish it? Because living under threat for 12 years is also a sentence. Wolf watched her. Did you kill him? Number. Did you drug his whiskey? Number. Did you inject him? Number. Did you remove the grey packet? Number. Who did? I don't know. The bell rang. Oscar Bell had arrived with a lawyer, but I disposed of the lawyer in the front room after explaining that Wolf's chairs were already fully prejudiced. Bell entered alone. He was compact, polished, and nervous enough to seem angry. He saw Miriam and stopped. Why is she here? To improve the room, I said. Sit. Wolf did not offer him the red leather chair. Miriam remained there. Bell took a yellow chair and disliked it. Wolf said, Mr. Bell, the black morning coat belonging to Mr. Hale was found in your motor car. I have said I know nothing about it. That statement is rejected. Bell's eyes flashed. By whom? By me, proceed with another. I did not put it there. That may be true. Did you remove it from Mr. Dane's office? Number, did you touch it? Number, Miriam said quietly. You did. Bell turned. You liar. Wolf's voice cut across the room. Mr. Bell, you may insult Miss Cross later, if you still have leisure. Bell faced him again. You touched the coat, Wolf said. Why? It was in the way. In the way of what? Dane's screen. I was looking for my hat. That is feeble. It is true. Truth may be feeble. This is not truth. Bell stood. I don't have to. No, Wolf said. You do not have to. You may leave and be arrested sooner. Did you know of the colorless copy? Number, Miriam looked at him. Wolf saw it. You did, Wolf said. Bell's jaw tightened. Victor told you? Wolf asked. Number, Mrs. Dane. No answer. Wolf leaned back. Ah, Bell said. Laura knew where Victor kept private things. That doesn't mean... He stopped. That, I said, was almost helpful. Wolf ignored me. Mrs. Dane knew of the colorless copy. Bell's mouth closed. Did she remove it? I don't know. Did you? Number, did you kill Victor Dane? Number, did you drug his whiskey? Number, did you approach him after he was drugged? Number, Wolf sighed. Your denials have become monotonous without becoming persuasive. Bell's face had reddened. Dane was destroying us. He would have destroyed Hale, Laura, me, Miriam, himself, everyone. He was drunk on confession. Men like that are dangerous. Yet you did not kill him. Number, then who did? Bell looked at Miriam. Ask the woman who forged the letters. Miriam flinched, but only once, Wolf said. Mr. Bell, you are coarse, frightened, and probably dishonest. But you are not subtle enough for these notes. Bell stared. What? You did not compose the color arrangement. You might steal a file, bribe a clerk, or lie badly. But you would not instruct a man to dress as a symbol that requires a different vanity. Miriam's face went still. Wolf noticed. So did I. The interviews ended with neither confession nor arrest. Pike arrived as Bell left and watched him go down the hall. Useful? Pike asked. More than he intended, I said. Wolf said, Mr. Pike, bring Mrs. Dane. Now. At once. Pike went to the phone in the hall. Miriam remained seated. Her face set. Wolf looked at her. Miss Cross, did Laura Dane know that you typed the forged Merrow letters? Yes. Did she know you kept a carbon? Miriam stopped breathing. I looked up sharply. Wolf's eyes were half closed, but his voice was precise. A typist who forges letters under instruction, and later learns their nature, does not leave herself naked. Did you keep a carbon? Miriam's hands tightened. Yes. Where? Number, that is not a location, I won't say. Why? because it is the only thing that kept me alive. Did Victor Dane know? Yes. Did Laura Dane know? I think so. Did Belle? Number Hale. Number is the carbon, the colorless copy. She stared at Wolf. No, she said. That denial was too real to ignore. Wolf nodded. Then there are 4 copies. Miriam whispered, I suppose. Pike returned. Mrs. Dane is coming. Wolf looked at the clock. It was 12:50. Lunch will be delayed, he said, in a tone one might use to announce national disaster. Laura Dane arrived 20 minutes later. She wore black. Now, not blue. It was not morning black. It was strategic black. There is a difference. Morning absorbs light. Strategy reflects it. She entered the office and glanced at Miriam, then Belle's empty chair, then Wolf. You sent for me. Yes, Wolf said. Sit. She sat in the red leather chair because Miriam had risen when she entered. That little exchange told me more about the Dane household than an inventory, Wolf said. Mrs. Dane, where is the colorless copy? I don't know what that is. Upfu, her eyes narrowed. I beg your pardon. You may beg, but not successfully. Your husband kept copies of the grey packet, one in the black file, one in the office safe, one outside the color system. You knew this. Where is it? I don't know. Did you remove the copy from the black file? Number from the safe? Number from your husband's private hiding place? Numbered. Did you send yourself the note about the red file? Numbered. Did you receive it? Yes. Why deny it? I was frightened. That answer is available to everyone, and therefore of little value. Laura's eyes moved to Miriam. Ask her about fright, Wolf said. I have. She is more candid than you. That would be a first. Miriam said nothing. Wolf continued. Your husband intended to publish material proving the Chronicle Syndicate forged letters in the Merrow affair. Publication would expose you and Mr. Bell for financial theft, Mr. Hale for blackmail, Miss Cross for forgery, and himself for all of it. Victor enjoyed suicide. If it had spectators, Laura said. Did you help him? Numbered. Did you kill him? Numbered. Did you drug him? Numbered. Did you know he had chloral hydrate in his whiskey? Her face changed. Not much. Enough. Wolf leaned forward slightly. Ah, Laura recovered. Victor used sleeping draughts. He slept badly. In whiskey? Sometimes. Who prepared his whiskey yesterday morning? I don't know. Who usually prepared it? He did. Miss Cross, Miriam said. Sometimes Phelps poured it from the cabinet. Mrs. Dane. Miriam looked at Laura. Sometimes, Laura said. In my own house, I may pour a drink. Indeed, Wolf said. And perhaps something else, Pike said. We found no syringe. Wolf's eyes moved to him, because it was not a syringe. Pike waited, Wolf said. The puncture behind the ear, a fine needle, it could be a hat pin. Laura's hand moved involuntarily to her hat. She wore no pin. Miriam's gaze dropped. I saw it. Miriam, I said. She looked up. You wore a hat yesterday. So did every woman in New York. With a pin. Yes. Where is it? I don't know. Laura smiled faintly. How unfortunate. Miriam turned white. Wolf's voice cut in. Mrs. Dane, do not smile until instructed. She stopped. Pike said, Miss Cross. Miriam's voice was low. My hatpin was missing when I left the Dane house yesterday. When did you notice? After the police called me back. Why not say so? Because I knew how it would look, Wolf said. It looked without your assistance. At that moment the case arranged itself into a shape so neat, I distrusted it at once. Miriam had motive, access, forgery guilt, knowledge of files, and a missing hatpin that could match the puncture. Laura had motive, access, knowledge of chloral, and a talent for letting suspicion walk elsewhere. Bell had the coat in his car. Hale had mourning on his back. Dane had arranged notes, perhaps, or someone had arranged them in his style. Wolf closed his eyes. Ina, he said. Laura stood. May I go? No, Pike said. She sat, Wolf said. Mr. Pike, have Miss Cross's lodgings searched for the carbon? She has not surrendered. Have Mrs. Dane's rooms searched for the colourless copy and for a hatpin? Have Mr. Bell held near enough to be unhappy? Mr. Hale will remain here. Hale, who had sat through this looking as if his black clothes were growing heavier, said, For how long? Until the colour changes, Wolf said. That was the end of the day's useful proceedings. By evening the search results began arriving. Miriam's lodgings contained no carbon. Laura Dane's rooms contained no grey packet, no colourless copy, and no hatpin. Bell's car contained Hale's coat and nothing else useful. The Chronicle office contained clippings, paste paper, and a wastebasket, with burned scraps too charred to read. At 9, after dinner, Wolf summoned me to the office. Archie, he said, what is the central fact? That Dane is dead. That is the corpse's view. The missing grey packet. Number, the notes. Number, the black coat. Number. I'm beginning to feel underappreciated. You are overpaid in patience. The central fact is that the murderer used Victor Dane's method. Colour. Yes, Mr. Dane categorized danger by colour. The murderer categorized the murder by colour. That may mean Dane arranged his own death, but since he is dead by another hand, it more likely means the murderer imitated him, someone who knew him intimately. Yes. Laura, Miriam, Bell. Hale, yes. And the black coat? Not to frame Hale alone, to create an image before death. Eerly grief. Yes. Prepared grief. Yes. I sat back. Then the murderer wanted the story written before the crime. Wolf opened his eyes. Now you begin. Outside, the night pressed against the windows. Inside, Wolf's office held silence, beer, and the black outline of a story someone had tried to publish with a corpse. Coincidence had been offered. It had not been accepted. Chapter 3. The Death Behind Closed Doors. Victor Dane died alone, his study locked from the inside. No sign of struggle, no sign of forced entry. Our glass of water sat untouched beside him, clear as denial. The doctor called it sudden failure of the heart. Rowan did not argue, but he did not agree. If Victor Dane had chosen a method for dying that would irritate Nero Wolfe, he could not have improved upon it. A locked room is not merely a physical condition. It is an insult. It suggests that facts can be sealed, that access can be denied, that truth can be kept behind a door and a key. Wolfe does not approve of doors that claim authority. At 9. The next morning, Rowan, Pike and I stood again in Dane's study, while the city outside went about its business of pretending that headlines were conclusions. The study had been sealed overnight. The police seal had been broken that morning, under Pike's supervision, and nothing had been moved except the body, which had gone where bodies always go when they cease to be useful to themselves. What remained was more interesting, the arrangement. The desk stood precisely as before. The black file lay open. The coloured folders remained in their ranks. The white card bearing the word colour still occupied its place like a poor joke that refused to improve with repetition. And the glass. It was not the whiskey glass that had been removed for testing. This was a second glass, clear water, placed slightly to the right of the blotter. It had not been mentioned in the first report, which made it immediately valuable. I said, that wasn't here yesterday. It was, Pike said. Then it was shy. It was overlooked. Then it has improved overnight. He did not answer. Pike does not waste language when observation will do. I leaned closer without touching. The water was still, the surface unbroken, no dust, no disturbance. A glass that had not been used, not even considered. Why put water next to whiskey? I asked. For after? Pike said. For after what? For burning the throat. Then why leave it untouched? Because something interrupted. I looked at the desk again. He drinks whiskey, perhaps laced with chloral. He grows drowsy. He has water ready, but never reaches for it. Yes, he collapses, or is approached. I nodded. And then the needle. Pike said nothing. The door to the study stood open now, but it had not been open when the body was found. The lock had been simple. A key from the inside, not a bolt. The key had been in the lock when Phelps entered. I went to it. Could it be locked from outside? I asked. Pike shook his head. Not without a trick. No string marks, no tool marks. Window, latched from inside. Lavatory, empty, no second exit. So we have a man who dies alone in a locked room, with no struggle, no weapon, and a polite arrangement of objects. Yes, that's offensive. It should be. I turned back to the desk. Doctor says heart failure. He says the heart stopped. That's a generous description of death. Yes, and you don't agree. Number, because of the chloral, and the puncture, and the glass of water. Yes, and the color arrangement. Pike's eyes moved to the folders. That too. I sat in Dane's chair. It was comfortable, padded, and expensive in a way that suggested poor taste rather than wealth. From there the room looked different. The door was visible. The window reflected light. The screen behind the chair cast a shadow across the corner where Miriam Cross had seen the black coat. If I were Dane, I said, I sit here. I drink, I think, I prepare to publish the ruin of several lives. And someone enters. Yes, someone I allow, or someone I expect. Better, and that person speaks, distracts, or assists. Yes, and then, either the poison has already begun to work, or it is introduced now, Pike said. The chloral was in the whiskey, so the killer knew he would drink. Yes. Or placed the drink, yes. I tapped the desk lightly. He doesn't reach for the water. That means the effect came quickly enough to prevent correction. Or he trusted the drink. Trust is fatal. Yes. I looked at the white card again. Color, Pike said. Message or signature, or instruction. For whom? For us. That is arrogance. Dane liked arrogance. And so does the killer. That narrows it to the city. Pike allowed himself the faintest hint of amusement. The butler, Phelps, was brought in again. He stood in the doorway with the expression of a man who has decided that dignity is a form of defense. You said the study was locked, Pike said. Yes. You used a key to enter. Yes. Whose key? Mr. Dane's spare, kept in the hall drawer, Anion in the household. Guests. Number, that is optimism, I said. Phelps ignored me. Pike asked. When you knocked at 11:10, did you try the door? Number, why not? Mr. Dane disliked interruption. And at 11:16. I tried the handle. It was locked. I fetched the key. How long? Less than a minute. Did you hear anything inside? Number, did you see any light change under the door? Number, did you hear movement? Number. Then you cannot say whether Mr. Dane was alive at 11:10. Phelps hesitated. I heard him earlier. At 10:50. Yes. But you did not see him. Number. So the last confirmed sighting is Mrs. Dane at 10:55. Yes. Pike dismissed him, I said. Laura becomes important. She was already. More so. We found Laura Dane in the sitting room again. She had not changed her posture, only her expression, which now included fatigue. Mourning, if genuine, had not yet arrived. Fatigue is easier to counterfeit. You have more questions, she said. We always do, I told her. Pike said, You saw your husband at 10:55. Yes. In the study. Yes. Was the door open? Yes. Did you enter? Number, did you speak? Yes. What did you say? I asked if he would come to luncheon, and he replied. He said no. Did he sound normal? Yes. Did you see him drink? Numbered. Did you see the glass of water? She frowned. Numbered. Did you see the whiskey? Yes. Did you notice anything unusual? Number, did you notice a card on the desk? Number, did you notice the black file open? I don't remember. That is convenient. It is true. Truth, I said, has a talent for convenience in this house. She did not respond. Pike said, "Did you lock the study door?" Numbered, "Did you see anyone else near the study afterward?" Numbered, "Did you hear anything?" Number, then between 10:55 and 11:16, your husband was alone. Yes. Except for his killer, I said. She looked at me. Or except for you. That would improve the story, but not the facts. We returned to the study. The locked door remained the centerpiece, not because it was difficult, but because it was deliberate. Someone had locked that door knowing it would be found locked. Why lock it? I asked. To control the narrative, Pike said. Explain. If the door is locked, the assumption is isolation, which hides entry. Yes, and suggests natural death. Yes, doctor says heart failure. Convenient. So the killer wanted time. Yes. And confusion. Yes. And distance. Yes. And maybe sympathy. Pike looked at me. For whom? For the man in black, I said. We stood in silence for a moment. The room held its arrangement like a witness who has memorized lines but not meaning. No struggle, no forced entry, no visible weapon. A polite death in a private room, and a glass of water untouched. I said, "Rowan." Yes. If the door was locked after the killer left, then the killer had a key. Yes. Or used Dane's yes. Or never left before it was locked. Pike turned his head slightly. That would require presence when the door was opened. Yes. Phelps opened it. Yes. And saw only Dane. Yes. So the killer was gone. Yes. Then we returned to the key. Yes. Who had it? Dane. Phelps, Mrs. Dane, and possibly someone who knew where it was kept. Yes. Like Miriam. Yes. Or Bell. Yes. Or Hale, if he had been there. Yes. I exhaled slowly. That's too many. Yes. Then something else must reduce it. Yes. What? Pike looked again at the glass of water. The thing he did not do, he said, which is? Drink. I followed his gaze. A man about to die does many things. He struggles, he reaches, he calls, he resists. Victor Dane had done none of them. He had sat, he had drunk, he had died. Quietly, and someone had arranged it so. On Riddle Street, the door had been closed. But the death had been prepared long before it was locked. Chapter 4. The timing of arrival. Edwin had arrived precisely 10 minutes before the body was discovered. Too early to know, too late to claim distance. He lingered in the hall, as if waiting for something to catch up with him. Rowan marked the minutes. They told a story no witness could. Time, like truth, leaves footprints. By the afternoon of the second day, the case had shifted from objects to intervals. Objects can lie politely. A coat may travel, a file may vanish, a note may be staged. But time has fewer manners. It does not explain itself. It simply exists, and anyone who stands in the wrong place inside it is marked whether he speaks or not, at Wolf's direction. I had returned to Riddle Street with Pike, not to search drawers or question servants, but to reconstruct the hour before Victor Dane died as if it were a corridor with visible tracks. We began in the front hall. You said Hale arrived here at 10:30? I asked. Pike shook his head. Number, that's the point. He did not arrive. Then why are we here measuring him? Because someone expected him. That's different. Yes, we stood by the hall clock, a tall wooden piece that ticked with irritating confidence. It had been checked and confirmed accurate within a minute. Dane expected Hale at 11:30, Pike said, according to Miriam. But Hale was at Wolf's office by 10:15. Yes, so Hale could not have come here before the murder, unless Dane died earlier. I looked at the clock again. You're still entertaining that? I'm measuring it. We walked to the study door. Phelps heard Dane speaking at 10:50, Pike said, but did not see him. Yes, so that voice could belong to anyone. Possibly. Mrs. Dane claims she saw him alive at 10:55. Yes, but she did not enter. Number so. She saw a man seated at a desk and assumed life. Yes, that's becoming a pattern. Pike did not respond. I leaned against the wall. Where does Hale fit? Pike said. He doesn't. That's the problem. Explain. Hale arrives at Wolf's office at 10:15. Yes. He remains there. Yes. Dane is found dead at 11:16. Yes. Hale is not here during that time. Yes. So why is Hale important to the timing? Because the timing was arranged around him. That landed. You mean the murder was built to include Hale, even if he wasn't present? Yes. Like the black coat? Yes. Like the note telling him to wear black? Yes. Then the killer needed Hale to be visible somewhere else? Yes. And needed that to matter? Yes. I pushed off the wall. So Hale's timing is not about guilt. It's about placement, correct? We returned to the hall. Who knew Hale would go to Wolf? I asked. No one, Pike said. Then that wasn't part of the plan. Number. So the killer expected Hale to come here at 11:30. Yes. And built the scene accordingly. Yes. But Hale didn't come. Number. Which means the plan shifted. Yes. I whistled softly. That's messy. Or adaptable. We called Phelps again. When did you last see Mr. Dane before his death? Pike asked. 10:55, madam. Mrs. Dane saw him then. Phelps corrected himself. You, Pike pressed. I did not see him after 10:30. And before that? I brought him coffee at 10:30. Did he drink it? I don't know. Did you remove the cup? Number, it was still there later. Then why was there water in the glass? I did not place it. Who did? I cannot say. Did you see Mr. Hale in the house yesterday morning? Number, did you expect him? Yes. Mr. Dane mentioned it. At what time? 11:30. And did Mr. Dane seem anxious? Number, angry. Yes. About Mr. Hale? Yes. That's all, Pike said. When Phelps left, I said. So Dane expected Hale at 11:30 but was already dead before that? Yes. Meaning the meeting never happened? Yes. Meaning someone removed Hale from the equation? Yes. I nodded slowly. And replaced him. Pike looked at me. Who was in the house between 10:30 and 11, I said. Miriam Cross. Left at 11, Oscar Bell. Left at 10:50, Laura Dane. In the house. Phelps in the house. That's our window. Yes. And our players. Yes. We stood in silence again. Then I said, what about the 10-minute gap? Pike turned his head slightly. Which gap? Hale arrives at Wolf's office at 10:15. Yes, he says he came directly. Yes, but no one saw him leave his house. Yes, and no one confirms when he left. Yes. So between 9 and 10:15, Hale is unaccounted. Pike said nothing. I continued, that's over an hour. Yes, enough time to visit Dane. Yes. Enough time to drug the whiskey. Yes. Enough time to leave before being expected. Yes. And then go to Wolf and sit in black like a headline, waiting to print. Pike nodded once. That is possible. I exhaled. So Hale's timing isn't clean after all. Number. But it's still awkward. Yes. Too early to know, too late to claim distance. Exactly. We returned to the study. I sat again in Dane's chair and looked at the desk. If Hale came earlier, I said. He could have prepared the drink. Yes. Left. Yes, then someone else comes later. Yes, finds Dane weakened. Yes, and finishes the job. Pike looked at me, 2 actors, or 1 returning. Yes, or 1 watching. Yes, that's too many possibilities. Yes, but time will reduce them. Yes, I tapped the desk lightly. Time leaves footprints, I said. Yes, but only if you know where to look. Pike gestured toward the hallway. Come, he said. We went to the side entrance, the one used by Bell, the one less visible, less formal, more useful. The door was used at 10:40, Pike said. By Bell. Yes, confirmed, by Phelps and Bell. Did anyone see him leave? Phelps saw him at 10:50. Did he go directly out? Yes. Anyone else use this door? Servants, guests? Rarely. So the door tells us nothing. It tells us access, which we already had. Yes, I sighed. I prefer doors that talk. This one whispers. We returned inside. I looked once more at the hall, the study, the clock. Rowan, I said. Yes, if the timing was arranged around Hale, and Hale didn't follow the plan, then something went wrong. Yes, either the killer adapted. Yes, or the killer was forced to act early. Yes, which means the trigger wasn't Hale's arrival number. Then what was it? Pike looked toward the study. The moment Dane became vulnerable, I followed his gaze, the whiskey, the chloral, the slow drift toward helplessness. A man does not need to be alone to be killed. He only needs to be unable to resist, I said quietly. So the real clock isn't the hall clock. Number, it's the poison. Yes. And everything else is arranged around that. Yes. On Riddle Street, the minutes had been measured carefully, not to record what happened, but to disguise when it began. Chapter 5, the business of trust. The 2 men had built fortunes together, and trust very carefully, but recent records showed cracks. Money moved, accounts adjusted, signatures questioned. Victor had begun asking questions Edwin could not afford to answer. In business, suspicion grows quietly until it becomes fatal, and partners know where each other is weakest. By the 3rd day, the case had shifted again, not from objects to time, but from time to motive, and motive, as Wolfe frequently reminds me, is not a cause. It is an explanation waiting for evidence to support it. We began with the books. That is always where men who call themselves respectable eventually betray themselves. Money has a way of recording truth even when people prefer fiction. The Chronicle Syndicate's office, now sealed and reluctantly opened under Pike's direction, contained ledgers, statements, correspondence, and the kind of neat bookkeeping that suggests long practice in dishonesty. Miriam Cross was present when we entered. She stood near the main desk, composed but pale, as if the room itself might begin accusing her. You handled these records, Pike said. Yes. For how long? 9 years. Then you know where to look. Yes. That saved us time. She brought forward 3 ledgers, operating accounts, private settlements, and discretionary funds. The last was the most interesting. Discretion is a word that hides both payment and silence, and the Chronicle Syndicate had spent generously on both. I sat at a side table and began turning pages. Neat, I said. Too neat. Pike stood behind me. Explain. Entries balanced to the cent, transfers aligned across accounts. Adjustments made just before audits. Someone here was not only careful, but afraid. Of whom? Of being checked. Miriam said quietly. Mr. Dane had begun reviewing the discretionary accounts. That's new, I said. When? 3 weeks ago. Why? He said numbers should not lie more than people. That sounds like him. He found discrepancies. Defined how? Transfers that did not match records. Payments that appeared twice. Signatures that did not belong to him. I looked up. Forgery again. She hesitated. Possibly, Pike said. Whose signatures? Who had access? I did, Mr. Dane, Mr. Hale, occasionally Mr. Bell, and Mrs. Dane. She did not work with the books. That doesn't mean she couldn't read them, I said. Miriam did not respond. I flipped another page. Here's something. 3 transfers from the Merrow account, large sums, moved through a secondary ledger and re-entered under different names. Pike leaned closer. When? 12 months ago. Then again 6 months ago. And once more, 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks, Pike said. When Dane began asking questions, I added. Miriam nodded. Who authorized these? Pike asked. Miriam said, the signatures show, Mr. Hale. I looked at her. Show? Yes. But you're not convinced. Number? Why? Because the handwriting is too careful. That's a criticism. Yes. Explain. When Mr. Hale signs normally, he is fast. When someone imitates him, they slow down, they become precise. I grinned. Forgery hates confidence. Pike said. Who could forge Hale's signature? Miriam hesitated. Miss Cross, Pike said. She looked at him, then at me, then down at the ledger. I could, she said. That's honest, I said. And Mr. Dane could, she added. That's interesting, and Mr. Bell might have learned. From you, yes. That's generous. She did not smile. I closed the ledger. So, I said, we have missing money, questionable signatures, and a partner who starts asking questions 3 weeks before he dies. Pike nodded. And a partner who cannot afford those questions. Meaning Hale, yes. Or Bell, yes. Or both. Yes. We left the office and returned to Wolf. He was in his chair, freshly installed after his plant room hours, which had evidently improved his mood only slightly. Hale was present, looking like a man who had been asked to wait too long for something he feared. Wolf opened his eyes when we entered. Well, I handed him the summary. Discrepancies in accounts, repeated transfers. Signatures that look right but feel wrong. Dane began investigating 3 weeks ago. The Merrow affair appears again. Wolf read silently, then set the paper down. Mr. Hale, he said, you have been inattentive. Hale stiffened. In what respect? To your accounts. I do not manage daily entries. You should. They are more honest than your explanations. Hale's face darkened. What are you suggesting? That money has moved without your full knowledge or consent. That is impossible. Pfui, it is. Then you are either incompetent or deceived. Hale's jaw tightened. By whom? Wolf looked at him. That is the question you should have asked 3 weeks ago when Mr. Dane began his review. Hale said nothing. I leaned against my desk. Dane finds irregularities, starts asking questions, plans to publish not just the Merrow affair, but current corruption. Yes, Wolf said. And someone can't afford that. Yes. Because it exposes them financially, not just morally. Yes, meaning the motive isn't just past guilt, it's present danger. Yes. Wolf turned to Hale. Did you authorize transfers from the Merrow account in the past year? Numbered. Did you sign documents relating to those transfers? Number. Then your signature was forged. Hale's eyes flickered. That is serious, he said. Yes, Wolf said. It is also profitable. Hale leaned forward. You think I would steal from my own firm? I think you would notice if someone else did. I did not. Then you are incompetent. Hale's face flushed. That is not acceptable, he said. Nor is murder. Wolf replied calmly. The room went still, Hale said. You think I killed Dane to prevent exposure. I think you had reason to wish him silent. That is not the same, Hale stood. I will not sit here and be accused. Sit, Wolf said. Hale sat. That is one of Wolf's useful talents, I said. There's more. The transfers repeat over time. Someone is confident enough to continue. Not a one-time theft, a pattern. Wolf nodded. Confidence grows from success. And from trust, I added. Yes. Meaning whoever did this relied on being trusted. Yes. I looked at Hale. Partners trust each other, I said. Hale did not answer, Wolf said. Mr. Hale, who had the greatest freedom within your firm? Myself, Mr. Dane, and Mr. Bell, to some extent, and Miss Cross. She handled records, not decisions. Yet she could alter both. Hale frowned. You suspect her? I suspect everyone, Wolf said. Some more than others. I said. And partners know where each other is weakest. Wolf looked at me. Yes. And if someone wanted to ruin Hale, they would use his signature. Yes, and if someone wanted to ruin Dane, they would expose his past crimes. Yes, and if someone wanted to ruin both, they would combine the two. Yes. Hale stared at us. You think someone set us against each other? Wolf said nothing. Hale continued. Victor begins asking questions. I appear guilty. He prepares to publish. I appear desperate. He dies. I appear murderous. That is the outline, Wolf said. Hale sat back slowly. That is not coincidence, he said. No, Wolf said. It is design. I felt it settle. The coat, the notes, the files, the timing, everything arranged. Not merely to kill Victor Dane, but to place Edwin Hale inside the crime like a signature. I said, the business of trust. Wolf nodded. Trust is what allowed the theft, I said. Yes, and trust is what allows the framing. Yes, because only someone inside could do both. Yes, Hale whispered. Then it is one of us. Wolf opened his eyes. Of course, he said. It always is. Outside. The city moved, as it always does. Ignorant, impatient, and convinced that newspapers report truth. Inside the brownstone, we were learning something quieter. Trust had built the Chronicle syndicate. And now it was being used to dismantle it, piece by piece, signature by signature, until one partner lay dead and the other stood ready to take the blame. Chapter 6. The quiet poison no toxin showed in the first examination, but Rowan insisted on a second, slower search. There it was, an odorless compound, delayed in effect, patient as regret. Taken hours before death, invisible until it chose to speak. A poison that required no witness, only time. By the fourth day, the case had shed its last illusion of simplicity. The locked room had been a courtesy, the black coat, a distraction, the notes, a performance. Even the missing grey packet, for all its importance, had begun to look like a piece of theatre placed where the audience would notice it. What remained was the body, and what had been done to it. Rowan Pike arrived at the brownstone just before 11, carrying a thin envelope and the expression of a man who had found something he did not enjoy being right about. Wolf was in his office, settled and expectant. Hale sat in the red leather chair, no longer restless, but not at ease either. He had reached the stage where a man understands he is part of the case whether he prefers it or not. Pike entered, nodded once, and placed the envelope on Wolf's desk. The second examination, he said. Wolf did not touch it. Proceed. Pike remained standing. The first report focused on chloral hydrate in the whiskey. It was present, but insufficient to kill. It would have sedated Dane, made him slow, compliant, perhaps disoriented. Yes, Wolf said. The puncture behind the ear suggested a secondary method. We searched again, more slowly, and extended the analysis. And, Pike paused, not for effect, but because the fact deserved it. There is another compound, he said, difficult to detect, slow to react, nearly odorless. It was absorbed hours before death. I leaned forward. Hawes. Yes. How many? 2 to 3, possibly more, depending on dose and the subject. I did the arithmetic. If Dane died around 11, I said, then the poison was taken between 8 and 9. Yes. Before any of the known visitors. Yes. Before Miriam. Yes. Before Bell. Yes. Before Mrs. Dane's claimed sighting. Yes. I looked at Wolf. His eyes were closed, but not in rest. A poison that requires no witness, he said softly. Pike nodded. Only time. Hale spoke for the first time. What poison? Pike glanced at him. A plant-derived alkaloid, he said. Refined enough to avoid detection in routine testing. It disrupts cardiac rhythm gradually. Symptoms appear late. By the time the heart fails, the cause is nearly invisible. Hale's voice was dry. Convenient. Yes, Pike said, extremely. I stood and began to pace, which Wolf dislikes, but tolerates when I am useful. So the sequence changes, I said. Dane is poisoned early, before 10. Then later, he drinks whiskey with chloral, becomes weak, and is finally finished with a needle. Pike said, yes. 3 stages. Yes. Poison for inevitability, chloral for helplessness, needle for certainty. Yes. I stopped. That's not murder, I said. That's architecture. Wolf opened his eyes. Precisely, he said. Hale shifted in his chair. You are describing something elaborate. Why not simply use enough poison to kill? Wolf turned his head slightly. Because simplicity is not always sufficient, he said. The murderer required control over time, Pike added. The delayed poison ensures death regardless of interruption. The chloral ensures compliance if confronted. The needle ensures timing. I nodded. And the locked door ensures confusion. Yes. And the black coat ensures suspicion. Yes. And the notes ensure interpretation. Wolf looked at me. You are improving. I intend to charge more. Hale said, this does not tell you who did it. No, Wolf said. It tells us how. And that helps. It eliminates those who cannot. I sat again. Let's try that, I said. Who could administer poison hours before death? Pike answered. Someone who had access to Dane before 10. Miriam arrived at 10:30. Yes. Bell at 10:40. Yes. Mrs. Dane claims 10:55. Yes. Phelps at 10:30. Yes. So the poison must have been given before 10:30. Yes. Who saw Dane before that? Pike said. Mrs. Dane, the household staff, possibly no one else. Hale spoke. I was not there. No, I said. But you were unaccounted for between 9 and 10:15. Hale's eyes hardened. I have told you. Yes, I said, and we have learned to examine what you tell us. Wolf raised a hand slightly. I stopped. Mr. Hale, Wolf said, you may be silent for the next 5 minutes. It will improve the room. Hale complied. Wolf turned to Pike. The poison was administered early, he said. In what medium? Likely liquid, Pike said. Possibly food, something routine. Breakfast, possible. Coffee, possible. Water, possible, I said. The glass of water. Pike nodded, untouched later, but earlier, unknown. I leaned forward. If the poison was in the water, Dane might have drunk it in the morning, then later prepared whiskey. Yes, or someone gave it to him. Yes, summoning he trusted. Back in the office, Wolf had closed his eyes. Kramer had gone with his prisoners, carrying the grey packet and a resentment against Wolf that would outlive several administrations. Bell had been detained. Miriam Cross remained only long enough to ask whether her carbon would save her. Wolf told her it might reduce damage, not erase it. She accepted that better than most people accept the truth. When the room was empty, I sat at my desk. So, I said, the color that spoke first was black. Yes, Wolf said. And Hale wore the future. Yes, and Mrs. Dane finished what he began. Yes, and Dane tried to tell us with one word. Yes, color, indeed. I leaned back. You know, for a man who made a living arranging news, He did a poor job arranging his last headline. Wolf opened one eye. He was dying. That excuses some bad copy. Not all. Fritz entered with beer. Wolf inspected it, approved the foam, and took a long swallow order. For him, had been restored. Outside, New York swallowed the news and asked for more. By evening everyone would know. Victor Dane was dead. Edwin Hale had been taken, and Laura Dane had followed. The papers would print black borders and red accusations and grey hints of scandal. They would call it the Chronicle murder, the Color case, the Morning alibi. They would miss the simplest truth on Riddle Street. A man does not wear grief ahead of time unless he has already arranged for it. And this time, the Morning had told the story before the corpse did. Hale frowned. What does that mean? It means, Wolf said calmly, that the most important person in this house is the one we have not yet examined properly. I felt it settle. Not Hale, not Bell, not Miriam, the one who moved without question, the one who belonged without effort, the one whose presence required no introduction, I said quietly. Mrs. Dane. Wolf did not answer. He did not need to. Outside the city moved through another evening, unaware that a voice heard but not seen had shifted the case. On Riddle Street, the door had not opened, because it had never needed to. The visitor had not entered. He had always been inside. Chapter 8. The clothing that knew Rowan returned to the black suit. Not just morning attire, but freshly pressed, unworn before that day. No dust of travel, no signs of another engagement. It had been chosen for that morning alone. Clothing, like lies, fits too well when prepared in advance. By the 6th day, the case had narrowed. Not in the number of suspects, but in the number of things that could still be called coincidence without embarrassment. Wolf had no patience left for coincidence. Neither did Pike. I had never had much to begin with. The black suit returned to the center of the table. It had been too easily explained at first. Hale had offered his reasons early, neatly, and with just enough detail to appear reluctant. That alone had made it suspect. Now, with the added facts, the missing formal morning coat, the substitute suit, the dust at the cuff, and the timing, it became not merely an item of clothing, but a statement. And statements, in a case like this, are rarely accidental. We examined the suit in Wolf's office, laid carefully across a chair, as if it had been summoned to testify. Pike stood beside it, hands behind his back. It was not worn before that morning, he said. How can you tell? I asked. The press is recent. The folds are sharp, no softening at the seams, no wear at the cuffs or collar. New, number maintained. Meaning? It was kept ready, not used. For funerals, I said. Yes, but this was not the funeral coat. Number that one was taken. Yes, and found in Bell's car. Yes. I looked at the suit again. So Hale was forced to wear this instead. Or chose to. Why choose the lesser option? To satisfy the instruction, not the expectation. I smiled faintly. You're starting to sound like Wolf. I take that as an insult. You should. We turned as Wolf entered from the hall, moving with the deliberation of a man who does not hurry even when murder does. Well, he said. Pike gestured toward the suit. It was prepared, he said. Yes, Wolf said. Not worn casually, not selected in haste. Number pressed recently, maintained carefully. Yes, and worn for the first time that day. Yes, I leaned against my desk. Then Hale planned to wear black, I said. Yes, Wolf replied. Before receiving the note. Yes, which means the note did not instruct him. Number, it confirmed him. Yes, that landed harder than anything we had said that morning, Pike said. Then the note was not a command. No, Wolf said. It was an acknowledgement. Of what? Of preparation. I straightened. So Hale intended to wear black that day regardless. Yes. For what reason? Wolf looked at the suit. Not mourning, he said. Then what? Display, I frowned. Of grief, of readiness. That's vague. Then make it precise. I thought for a moment. Hale knew something was going to happen, I said. Yes, he dressed accordingly. Yes. And the note confirmed that someone else knew he knew. Yes. Which means the note writer and Hale share knowledge. Yes, and possibly intent. Yes. I exhaled slowly. That puts Hale closer to the center. Yes, not just as a suspect, but as part of the design. Yes. Hale, who had been standing near the window, turned sharply. I did not plan Victor's death. Wolf did not look at him. Your protest is noted, he said. It is also premature. I wore black because of the note. No, Wolf said calmly. You wore black because you intended to. That is false. Then explain the suit. Hale hesitated. That suit, Wolf continued, was pressed recently. It was not selected in panic. It was not chosen at random. It was prepared. Hale said nothing. You expected to wear black, Wolf said. Yes, Hale admitted at last. Why? Hale's hands tightened. I expected a confrontation, he said, with Mr. Dane. Yes, at his house. Yes, at what time? 11:30. The time he expected you. Yes. And you believed that confrontation might end badly. Yes. Badly enough to justify mourning attire. Hale's voice dropped. Yes. I said, that's theatrical. It was practical, Hale snapped. Black is never practical, I said. It's always a statement. Wolf raised a hand slightly. Mr. Hale, he said. Did you intend to kill Mr. Dane? Number, did you intend to threaten him? Yes. With what? Exposure, retaliation, destruction of his plans. Did you expect him to resist? Yes. Did you expect violence? Hale hesitated. I did not exclude it. Wolf nodded. So you dressed accordingly? Yes, for a confrontation that might end in death. Yes. But not necessarily his. Hale said nothing. That silence was better than anything he might have said. Pike stepped forward. You did not go, he said. Number. Why? The note. The note told you what you already expected, but you chose to go to Wolf instead. Yes. To establish position. Hale looked at him sharply. To avoid being present. Yes. To avoid being seen. Yes. To avoid being connected. Hale's voice hardened. I went because I was warned. No, Pike said. You went because you were already prepared. That ended it, I said. So Hale prepares for a confrontation, dresses for it, then receives a note confirming death before noon. Instead of going, he goes to Wolf and leaves Dane to die. Yes. I looked at the suit again. Then the clothing isn't just evidence, I said. No, Wolf said. It's part of the plan. Yes. To place Hale in black publicly, visibly, unmistakably. Yes. And to do it before the death is known. Yes. So when Dane dies, Hale is already mourning. Yes. And already suspicious. Yes. I shook my head. That's elegant, I said. Yes. Wolf said. And cruel. Yes, Pike said. And deliberate. We stood in silence for a moment. Then I said, there's something else. Yes, Wolf said. The suit has no dust. Yes. No signs of travel. Yes. No marks from the street. Yes. Which means Hale came directly from home to here. Yes. And did not go anywhere else. Yes. But we know he had time unaccounted for. Yes. Which means he changed. Yes. Before coming here. Yes. Or after leaving somewhere else. Yes. I looked at Hale. Where did you go before coming here? I asked. Hale did not answer. Wolf said, "That question has been asked." "Yes," I said, "but not answered." Hale's face tightened. "I told you I was at home." "No," I said. "You told us you were alone. That is the same." "No," Wolf said. "It is not." Hale remained silent. Pike said quietly, "Clothing remembers what men forget." I smiled. "That's good." He ignored me. Wolf leaned back. "The suit was prepared," he said. "The coat was removed. The note was sent. The timing was arranged. The death was executed." He opened his eyes. "And Mr. Hale was placed." Hale whispered, "Placed where?" Wolf looked at him. "In black," he said. "Outside. The day had turned cold, though it was not yet winter. Inside, the case had lost another illusion. The black suit had not been worn by accident. It had not been chosen in haste. It had not been forced by a note. It had been prepared. And in a case built on preparation, the difference between guilt and design is often measured in how well something fits. Chapter 9. The future already warned you dressed for death before it arrived. Rowan said quietly. Edwin faltered, not at the accusation, but at its precision. He had poisoned Victor hours earlier, knowing exactly when the end would come. The black suit was not coincidence. It was confidence. He wore the future, certain it would not betray him. The sentence was spoken in Wolf's office, but it had been prepared in Victor Dane's study. That is the way of good accusations. They do not begin when voiced. They begin when a fact first refuses to sit politely with the others. Edwin Hale had refused from the start. He had entered West 35th Street, dressed in black, carrying a pasted note, offering fear and asking to be believed. He had looked like a man warned of death. Now, after 6 days of files, poisons, coats, clocks and lies, he looked like something colder, a man who had tried to wear tomorrow as proof that he had not made it. Rowan Pike stood near Wolf's desk. Hale sat in the red leather chair, which no longer flattered him. His black suit, now examined, discussed, and stripped of coincidence, seemed heavier than cloth. Wolf sat behind his desk with his eyes half closed, not because he was indifferent, but because the interesting work had already been done, and he disliked watching people delay the inevitable. Pike said it again, softer. "You dressed for death before it arrived." Hale's mouth opened. He did not protest at once. That was the first crack. A wrongly accused man rejects the accusation. A precisely accused man often first measures how much has been seen. "You are mistaken," he said finally. "No," Pike said. Hale looked to Wolf. "Mr. Wolf." Wolf did not move. "Mr. Pike's phrasing is sound. That is not evidence." "Neither was your mourning," Wolf said, "until we learned why it mattered." Hale's hands tightened on the chair arms. "I received a note." "Yes." "It told me Victor would die." "Yes." "I came here." "Yes." "To prevent suspicion." "No," Wolf said. "To manufacture innocence." Hale's face sharpened. "That is absurd." "Not absurd," Wolf said. "Elaborate. But elaboration is not absurdity. You of all men should know the distinction. Your business depended on arranging fragments, so the public saw the conclusion you wished them to see. I was at my desk, pen ready though I had no need of it. Some moments write themselves. Pike laid the sequence out, not hurriedly. That was his strength. Kramer would have hammered. Wolf would have compressed. Pike unfolded. "Victor Dane was given a delayed poison early in the morning," he said. "The compound entered his system hours before death. Later, chloral was placed in his whiskey, not to kill him but to dull him. The puncture behind the ear ensured the end when the poison had weakened him." Hale said nothing. Pike continued. "You knew Dane expected to meet you at 11:30. You dressed for that meeting, not for a memorial breakfast, not because of a note. You dressed because you knew the meeting would never occur." "I did not know." "Yes," Pike said. "You did." Wolf opened his eyes. "Because you made it unnecessary." Hale looked at him, Wolf said. You poisoned him hours earlier. The room held still. The words did not explode. They settled. Hale's first answer was too calm. How? Wolf said. The wrong question. A guilty man often asks for mechanism before denying fact. Hale flushed. I deny it. Too late, Wolf said. Pike placed a small envelope on Wolf's desk. The compound was found in traces on the inside of a sample bottle recovered from your office washroom. Hale turned toward him sharply. That bottle was planted. No, Pike said. Your fingerprints were on it under the rim, where a planter would not think to wipe or place them. Hale swallowed. I said. Careless. But then, bottles are less theatrical than suits. Hale ignored me, Pike said. The poison was in Dane's morning mineral tonic. Phelps confirmed. Dane took it every morning before whiskey, before files, before visitors. The tonic was delivered from your office supply, as it had been twice a week for years. Hale's eyes moved. Not much enough, Wolf said. Trust again. Partners know each other's habits. You knew the tonic. You knew the schedule. You knew that Dane would take it without suspicion if it came through the ordinary channel. It was supplied by the office, Hale said. Handled by clerks, messengers, anyone. Indeed, Wolf said. That is why it was attractive. But only one person knew that yesterday's bottle had to be substituted before morning, and that Dane would drink it before the visible drama began. Pike added, You had the bottle sent at 8:15. The office messenger remembers, because you corrected the label yourself. Hale's jaw tightened. Routine shipment. No, Pike said. The regular shipment was due the next day. Silence again. That was not proof alone, but proof does not always arrive as one block. Sometimes it comes as bricks, and Hale was beginning to feel the wall. Wolf leaned back. You poisoned him early. Then you prepared the performance. Dane had already stolen your formal morning coat and used it in his own little theater. Or so we thought. In fact, you allowed that confusion. You knew the coat would be found. You knew it would suggest someone else had dressed the scene. So you wore another black suit, carefully pressed, unworn, ready. Not panic, not obedience, confidence. Hale said, Why would I make myself suspicious? To control suspicion, Wolf said. There is no better way to direct inquiry than to offer it a dramatic object. A man in black before death is suspicious, yes, but he is also memorable. You wanted everyone to ask why you wore black, not how Dane had been poisoned. I said, and it worked for a while. For too long, Pike said. The note you brought was pasted in Dane's office, but not by Dane. Hale smiled faintly. Then who? You, Pike said. That is ridiculous. No, Pike said. The paste used on your note matched the paste in Dane's office, but the paper backing carried fibers from the blotter in your own desk. You made the note in stages, using Dane's materials to make it appear part of his color games, then carrying it to yourself. Hale's smile vanished. Wolf said, You knew Dane's habits of display, his colored files, his theatrical language. You knew he might indeed have sent such a note. That made it useful. But Laura Dane received a note too, Hale said. Yes, Wolf said. That one was genuine. Hale blinked. Wolf continued. Mr. Dane had sent it to his wife as part of his own preparations. He was arranging exposure. You exploited his arrangement. You did not create all the colors. You selected the ones that suited you. That disturbed Hale more than accusation. He had planned to be the author. Wolf made him an editor. Pike said. Dane knew someone had tampered with his morning tonic after he began feeling ill. That is why the unseen conversation matters. Hale's face altered. I leaned forward. Pike continued. Lila heard Dane say, You're too late. The reply was, Number you are. We thought the visitor said it. He did not. Dane said both lines. Hale stared. Wolf nodded slightly. A man drugged and deteriorating may speak aloud, rehearse, mock, accuse. Lila heard only one voice, altered by anger and weakness. She assumed a second speaker because the words formed a dialogue. I said, "No unseen visitor." "No," Wolf said. "A dying man arguing with the man he expected." Hale's lips parted, Pike said. "Dane expected you at 11:30. He knew by 10:50 that something was wrong. He thought you were coming too late to save him, or too late to deny it." He began arranging the files. He opened Black. He placed the card. He tried to leave a message in the only language you both shared. "Color," Wolf said, but chloral blurred him. The delayed poison weakened him. He did not complete the message. "The card," I said. "Color, yes," Wolf said. "Not a signature. A direction. Look at color. Look at Black. Look at what Hale wore. Look at what was prepared." Hale whispered. "Victor could not have known." Wolf's eyes rested on him. "He knew enough to frighten you. That is why you added the final act." "The puncture," Pike said. Hale shook his head. "Number." "Yes," Pike said. "You went to the Dane house after leaving Wolf briefly by the rear. That made me sit up." "He did what?" Wolf said. "At 11:14 you were answering Fritz's inquiry about lunch in the hall. At 11:16 you were not visible to him or me for 4 minutes. You said you had gone to the lavatory." Hale stared at him. "This is madness. Dane's house is not 4 minutes away." "No," Wolf said. "But the final puncture was not yours. That turned the room." Hale seized it. "Then, be still," Wolf said. Pike looked at Hale. "You arranged the poison. You arranged the note. You arranged your black suit and your appearance here. But someone else, seeing Dane helpless and knowing publication still threatened them, entered the study and made certain he died before he could finish anything." Hale's expression became something ugly and relieved. Wolf said, "Do not look comforted. You murdered him in intention and in act by poison. The second hand merely ensured success." "Who?" Hale demanded. Wolf ignored him. "This is why," Wolf said. "The case is not yet finished. You are guilty, Mr. Hale, but you are not alone in the truth. The person who used the needle removed the grey packet, locked the room, and continued the color performance." Pike said, "Mrs. Dane." Wolf looked at him, possibly. "Laura," Hale said. Wolf's gaze returned to Hale. "Your surprise is unconvincing. You and Mrs. Dane each used the same dying man for different purposes. You wanted to stop exposure of the forged settlements and current account theft. She wanted the grey packet and the red file suppressed to protect her transfers with Mr. Bell. Your poison weakened Dane. Her intervention silenced him." Hale's hands were shaking now. Murderers often resent collaborators who were not invited. "I wrote that down because it was Wolf at his best. Unfair, exact, and too useful to waste." Pike moved toward the hall. "I'll have Mrs. Dane brought." "Not yet," Wolf said. Pike stopped. Wolf said, "At the final gathering, Mr. Hale will remain here. Archie, call Inspector Kramer. Tell him to come with patience if any can be borrowed." I picked up the phone. Hale sat as if the black suit had finally become a coffin. The future he had worn had betrayed him after all, not because it failed to fit, but because it fit too well. Chapter 10. The color that spoke first. Edwin was taken as the city finally learned of Victor's death. The news spread slowly, but the truth had arrived early, dressed in black. "The body was not the first sign," Rowan said. "The mourning was. On Riddle Street, a man does not wear grief ahead of time, unless he has already arranged for it." The final performance began at 11 o'clock in Wolf's office. Because Wolf prefers conclusions where the chairs are his, the beer is correct, and escape requires passing Archie Goodwin. I had arranged the room with care and some malice. Edwin Hale sat in the red leather chair, still wearing black, though by then it had stopped looking like clothing and had begun to resemble a verdict. Laura Dane sat to his left, composed, pale, and exact. Oscar Bell had been given one of the yellow chairs, which made him look smaller and angrier. Miriam Cross sat near my desk, hands folded, eyes steady. Phelps the butler stood near the wall, where he could pretend to be furniture. Rowan Pike occupied his usual place by the bookshelves. Inspector Kramer stood near the door, cigar clamped in his mouth. looking like a man who would rather arrest the whole room and sort it out by weight. Wolf sat behind his desk, massive and still. He had before him a few objects: the pasted note sent to Hale, the note found in Laura Dane's desk, the card marked color, a report on the delayed poison, a second report on the chloral, and a black thread sealed in a small envelope. There was also a hat pin. It had been found that morning, not in Miriam Cross's rooms, but in the lining of Laura Dane's discarded traveling. Muff Kramer had wanted to begin there. Wolf had refused. Wolf never begins with the obvious when it can be made to arrive obediently at the end. Wolf opened his eyes. "Mr. Dane," he said, "is dead. That is the least interesting fact in this room." Kramer growled, "For God's sake, Wolf." "No," Wolf said, "for clarity." He turned his gaze to Hale. Mr. Hale came to this house dressed in black before the death was known. He brought a note which predicted Mr. Dane's death before noon and instructed him to wear black. The police naturally suspected him. Mr. Hale naturally encouraged that suspicion just enough to make it seem unfair. Hale's lips tightened. "I did not encourage it. You embodied it," Wolf said. "That was sufficient." He lifted the pasted note. This note was not warning. It was announcement. It did not create your mourning attire. It acknowledged it. Your black suit had been pressed and prepared before the note arrived. Your formal mourning coat had been removed and later planted to suggest manipulation by another. But you, sir, had already chosen black. Hale said nothing. Wolf continued. "Why, because you had poisoned Victor Dane hours before his death." Laura Dane did not move. Oscar Bell muttered something. Miriam Cross looked down. Kramer stepped forward. "You can prove that." "Yes," Wolf said. "Please do not interrupt yourself into confusion." Kramer's cigar shifted, but he stayed quiet. "The delayed poison," Wolf said, "was in Mr. Dane's morning tonic, a bottle supplied through the Chronicle office by long habit. Mr. Hale corrected the label himself that morning, though the regular shipment was not due. The poison was slow, nearly odorless, and patient. It would not make Mr. Dane drop at once. It would carry him toward death while leaving the first examination almost empty." Hale said, "That is supposition." "No," Wolf said. "It is supposition supported by the bottle found in your office washroom, the fingerprints under its rim, the messenger's statement, and the medical report. That is not poetry. It is evidence." Hale's face had tightened, but still he held. Wolf inclined his head slightly. "You had motive." Mr. Dane had begun examining accounts. Money had moved, signatures had been questioned, and the black file threatened to expose both old extortions and current theft. He intended publication. You intended prevention. "I intended to stop him," Hale said. "Yes," Wolf said. "You succeeded." Hale's mouth closed. Wolf looked at the rest of them. "But Mr. Hale is not the whole story. Had the poison acted alone, Mr. Dane might have died later, perhaps after speaking, perhaps after sending the grey packet. The murderer's plan required more than death. It required control of interpretation." He touched the card marked color. Victor Dane lived by color: yellow for gossip, green for money, blue for politics, red for personal scandal, black for ruin. That was his vanity. The murderer used it. The notes, the open black file, the missing grey packet, the planted coat. And this card were not random clues. They were edits. Mr. Dane had spent his life shaping news at the end. News was shaped around him. Pike's eyes remained on Laura Dane. Wolf noticed. "Mrs. Dane," he said. She lifted her chin. "Yes, you received a note. Keep the red file closed. Black will open itself. You denied receiving it until it was found in your desk. I was frightened." "Apfooey, you were calculating." Her eyes hardened. Wolf continued. "The red file contained evidence of your financial dealings with Mr. Bell. The grey packet contained worse, proof of forged letters in the Merrow affair, records of private settlements, and material that could destroy the Chronicle Syndicate and everyone who profited from it. Mr. Dane intended to publish. You and Mr. Bell were exposed. Mr. Hale was exposed. Miss Cross was exposed. Mr. Dane himself was exposed. It was a house of paper waiting for one match. Bell said, "I didn't kill him." "No," Wolf said. "You did not. You stole. You lied. You panicked. These are common activities and not immediately fatal." Bell flushed. Wolf turned to Miriam Cross. Miss Cross typed the forged letters years ago. She kept a carbon as insurance. That carbon was not the colorless copy. Mr. Dane had another. Mrs. Dane knew it existed. Laura said coldly, "You cannot know what I knew." "I can know what you did," Wolf said. The room tightened. After Mr. Dane drank the poison tonic, he began to feel ill. Later, chloral was placed in his whiskey. The chloral was not enough to kill him, but enough to dull him. It made him uncertain, slow, and vulnerable. He realized something was wrong. He tried to arrange a message in his own language. He opened the black file. He placed the card. Color, not a signature, an instruction. I watched Laura's hands. They were still, but not relaxed. Wolf said, "The supposed unseen visitor was a misunderstanding." The maid heard Mr. Dane speaking through the study door. She heard, "You're too late," and "No, you are." She thought there were two voices. There was one. Mr. Dane, weakened and furious, was rehearsing the confrontation he expected with Mr. Hale. Hale's eyes flickered. Mr. Dane had discovered enough to know who had begun the attack, Wolf said. But not enough time to complete the accusation. The poison weakened him. The chloral confused him. He was alive, but not safe, Kramer said. Then who used the needle? Wolf lifted the hatpin. "Mrs. Dane." Laura rose halfway. "Number sit," Wolf said. She sat. It was not obedience, it was calculation failing. "This hatpin," Wolf continued, "was missing from Miss Cross's hat. That was meant to implicate her, but the pin was found in Mrs. Dane's muff, hidden in the lining. It bears a trace of chloral and blood, consistent with the puncture behind Mr. Dane's ear. Mrs. Dane entered the study after Mr. Dane was weakened. He would admit her. She belonged. She saw the black file open and the card placed. She took the grey packet, administered the final puncture, locked the door from inside with his key, and left by using the spare key from the hall drawer to reset the appearance of isolation. Phelps stirred. "The spare key." "Yes," Wolf said. "You kept it in the hall drawer." Mrs. Dane knew it. So did others. But only Mrs. Dane had occasion to move through the hall without notice, and later direct servants away from the study. Laura said, "That is invention." "No," Pike said quietly. "It is timing." Wolf nodded. At 11:10 Phelps knocked and received no answer. At 11:16 he entered. Mrs. Dane had already withdrawn. The chloral glass, the water glass, the black file, and the card remained. The grey packet did not. "Where is it?" Kramer demanded. "I opened the drawer of my desk and removed a sealed envelope. Found this morning behind the false bottom of Mrs. Dane's red lacquer box. Pike had good taste in search warrants." Laura's face went white. Kramer took a step. "Give me that." "In a minute," Wolf said. "Do not pour at the ending." Kramer looked capable of violence, but Pike's presence and curiosity restrained him. Wolf said, "The grey packet was not destroyed because Mrs. Dane needed it. Documents are weapons. She intended to bargain with them after Mr. Hale was arrested. Mr. Hale, by wearing black and bringing his own note, made himself the headline. Mrs. Dane intended to survive as the widow holding silence." Hale spoke, hoarse. "You knew." Laura looked at him. Her composure had cracked at last, and what showed beneath was not grief, but fury at being seen clearly. "I knew you would try something," she said. Hale stared for the first time since he had entered Wolf's house in black. He looked less like a man performing mourning than one suddenly meeting it. "You were never as subtle as you thought," she continued. "Victor knew too. That was why he planned the noon release." "And you killed him," Hale said. Laura's eyes flashed. "You poisoned him," Laura said, and the accusation came out too quickly, as if she had been saving it for her own defense. That ended them both. Wolfe leaned back. "There is the truth, Inspector." Mr. Hale administered the delayed poison and prepared the public misdirection of mourning. Mrs. Dane, discovering Mr. Dane weakened and still dangerous, completed the murder, removed the packet, and sharpened suspicion toward Miss Cross. And Mr. Hale, Mr. Bell profited and lied, but did not kill. Miss Cross concealed her carbon, but did not kill. The butler was foolishly obedient, which is not yet a felony. Kramer moved at last. "Hale, Mrs. Dane." Hale did not resist. The black suit seemed to fold around him as he rose. "I only meant to stop him," he said. But his voice broke on the last word, and even he heard the lie in it. He looked not shocked, but emptied, like a man whose cleverness had been removed and found smaller than expected. Laura Dane stood too. She lifted her chin, but one hand went briefly to her throat before she mastered it. No one in the room mistook the gesture for dignity. As they were taken out, Pike stepped into the hall. I followed. The city outside was beginning to learn what had happened. Newsboys were calling the extra edition down the block, their voices thin through the glass. Pike looked toward the street. "The body was not the first sign," he said. "No," I said. "The morning was." He nodded. "Truth arrived early." "Yes." I looked at Wolfe. "Trust again," I said. "Yes, and business. Yes, and partnership. Yes." Hale shifted. Wolfe continued. "Mr. Dane was poisoned before he expected any visitor. That means the poisoner did not need to enter under pretense. He was already within trust, meaning household," I said. "Yes. Or partner. Yes. Or both." "Yes," Pike said. "There is more." We looked at him. "The compound requires preparation. It is not something purchased casually. It suggests knowledge." "Yes, medical?" I asked. "Possibly. Or botanical. Or chemical." "Miriam," I said. "She forged letters," Pike said. "Not necessarily poison." "Bell. Financial." "Laura." Pike did not answer immediately. Wolfe did. "She had access," he said. "She had motive. We must determine whether she had knowledge." Hale spoke despite instruction. "My wife." "Your partner's wife," Wolfe corrected calmly. "And yes, she must be considered." Hale fell silent again. I said, "What about the sequence? If the poison guarantees death, why add chloral and a needle?" Wolfe smiled faintly. "Because the murderer required not only death, but control of its appearance." "Heart failure," I said. "Yes." "The doctor's first conclusion." "Yes." "Then the second poison is insurance." "Yes." "And the chloral is disguise." "Yes." "And the needle is timing." "Yes." I leaned back. "That's thorough." "Yes." "That's personal." "Yes." "That's someone who wanted certainty." "Yes." We sat in silence for a moment. Then I said, "Rowan." "Yes." "Who benefits most if Dane dies exactly when he did?" Pike answered, without hesitation. "The person who needed him silent before noon, before publication." I looked at Wolfe. "And the story is already written," I said. "Yes." "With Hale in black?" "Yes." "With the black file open?" "Yes." "With the grey packet missing?" "Yes." "With the red file threatened?" "Yes." "With color as the theme?" "Yes." I exhaled slowly. "The murderer didn't just kill Dane," I said. "No," Wolfe said. "He edited him." "Yes." Outside, the day had turned grey again, as if the city itself had adopted the case's palette. Inside the office, the truth had taken a step forward, not visible, not complete, but undeniable. The poison had been given long before death, which meant the crime had begun long before the room was locked, long before the coat was worn, long before the notes were read. On Riddle Street, the killing had not been sudden. It had been prepared. Patiently, carefully, and without witnesses, until time itself became the accomplice. Chapter 7. The visit. Unseen Victor had received a visitor that morning, though none were recorded. Servants recalled a brief conversation through the study door. No one saw the face, but the voice was calm, familiar. Didwin had stepped out briefly that same hour, unaccounted for. Doors do not always need to open to let someone in. By the fifth day, the case had begun to prefer absence over presence. A man seen is a problem. A man heard is a puzzle. Rowan Pike had sent for me just after 10, and I reached the Dane house to find him not in the study, but in the narrow hallway outside it, standing where a servant might pause without appearing to do so. He had that stillness about him that means something has shifted. Not loudly, not dramatically, but enough to change the direction of thought. "You have something," I said. "Yes, something useful. Yes, that's unusual." He ignored that. "The maid," he said. "Lila Grant. She remembered more. Memory is improving all over the house. Come." We found her in the back corridor, where the house forgot to be elegant. She stood with her hands folded, not nervous exactly, but aware that what she said now mattered more than what she had said before. Pike said, "Tell him." She nodded once. "I heard Mr. Dane speaking," she said. "That we know," I told her. "What else?" There was another voice. "That improved everything." "When?" Pike asked. "Before 11, after I had come up from the kitchen. I was passing the study. Door open. Number you stopped. Only a moment." "Why?" She hesitated. "Because of how he spoke." "How was that?" "Short, sharp. Not like when he talked to the butler or the secretary. Angry." "Yes." "And the other voice?" "Not angry." "Describe it." "Quiet. Even like someone explaining something that didn't need explaining." I nodded. "That sounds like a murderer." Pike gave me a look and then returned to her. "Did you recognize it?" She frowned slightly. "I thought I did, but I couldn't say who." "Male?" "Yes. Old, young. Not old, not young. That's precise." "I didn't see him." "Words," Pike said. "What did you hear?" She closed her eyes briefly, as if to steady the memory. Mr. Dane said, "You're too late." "And the other?" "No," he said. "You are." That line had the kind of neatness that usually means it was remembered correctly. People forget noise. They remember structure. "Anything else?" I asked. "Number you didn't hear the door open or close. Number footsteps. Number movement. Number." Then the man was already inside. She nodded uncertainly. "I suppose." "Or entered before you came." "Yes." "Or never left by a door." She blinked at that. Pike did not. "That will do," he said. She left, relieved to return to tasks that did not involve interpretation. I leaned against the wall and looked at the study door. "Unseen visitor," I said. "Yes, before 11. "Yes," calm voice. "Yes, familiar." "Yes, and not recorded." "Yes." "Which means we missed him." "No," Pike said. "We were not looking for him. That's the same thing." Number explain. "We were looking for entry. He did not enter." I smiled slightly. "You're enjoying that." "It is accurate." We stepped into the study. It had not changed. That was the trouble with it. A room that changes can be questioned. A room that remains still demands interpretation. The desk, the files, the card, the glass, everything remained arranged as before, as if the room itself insisted on repeating its statement until someone understood it. I sat in Dane's chair again. "If there was a visitor," I said, "then the timing shifts." "Yes, because we thought Dane was alone until Bell arrived at 10:40. "Yes. But now we know someone was with him before 11. "Yes. Which means that person could have been there before Bell." "Yes. And before Miriam." "Yes. And before Mrs. Dane's sighting, yes. Which puts him in the house early. Yes. And not noticed. Yes. I tapped the arm of the chair. That narrows it. How? Pike asked. Strangers are noticed. Servants remember them. Doors open, steps sound, someone asks who they are. Yes, but a man who belongs doesn't get asked. Yes. He walks through the house, like part of it. Yes. Then the visitor belonged. Yes, I looked at the door. Who belongs? I said. Household family, business partner, Bell. Entered at 10:40. Scene, Miriam. Arrived later. Scene. Phelps, accounted for, which leaves. Mrs. Dane, Pike said. And Hale. Yes. I leaned back. Hale's timing again. Yes, he was unaccounted for between 9 and 10:15. Yes. Enough time to come here. Yes. Enough time to speak to Dane. Yes. Enough time to poison him. Yes. And then leave and go to Wolf. Yes. But... Yes? Pike said. The voice. Yes. Lila said it was familiar. Yes. She works in the house. Yes. She would recognize Hale. Likely. But she didn't say his name, number, which suggests it wasn't Hale, or that she was uncertain. I shook my head. Uncertain people do not describe voices as familiar. Sometimes they do, not like that. Pike considered that, then nodded slightly. Then not Hale. That removes him from the unseen visit. Yes, but not from the poison, number, and not from the timing. Number I stood. So we separate the acts, I said. The poison early, the visit later, the finishing touch after. Yes, possibly 3 actions. Yes, possibly one person doing all. Yes, or more than one. Yes, I sighed. That's untidy. Yes, but the visit, yes, is personal. How? The line, you're too late. That's not business, that's accusation. Yes. And you are, that's correction. Yes. 2 people who know what's happening. Yes. Which means the visitor knew about the poison. Yes. Or believed he did. Yes. And Dane knew as well. Yes. I looked at the desk again. So Dane knew he was dying. Yes. And still sat here. Yes. And still arranged the files. Yes. And still left the card. Yes. I frowned. That doesn't fit panic. Number, that fits control. Yes. Even in death. Yes. We stood in silence. Then I said, Rowan. Yes. If Dane knew he was poisoned, why didn't he act? How? Call for help. Leave the room. Write something. He may have. I looked at the desk, the card. Possibly. Color. Yes. That's not much of a message. It is if you understand it. I don't. Not yet. We returned to Wolf that evening. He listened, as always, without interruption. When I finished describing the unseen visit, the conversation, and our conclusions, he remained silent for a moment. Then he said, the voice was calm. Yes. Familiar. Yes. And unrecorded. Yes. Wolf opened his eyes. Then it was not merely a visitor, he said. No. It was someone who did not need to be announced. Yes. Someone whose presence required no explanation. Yes. Someone who could speak to Mr. Dane as an equal. Yes. Or as a superior. I considered that. Not Bell, I said. Number, not Miriam. Number, not Phelps. Number, Hale. Possible. But the maid's uncertainty argues against it. Yes. Then. Yes, Wolf said. Hale shifted in his chair. You are looking at me again, he said. Wolf turned his head slightly. No, he said. I am looking past you. Hale frowned.